so what would you like me to say?
Well,
That's
just
all right.
introduce yourself.
I'm Shauna Maynard. I live at 71642 Keller Street, and
Okay.
I'm here to request to have
It's
green.
green,
It's
but I
green.
can't hear it either. Okay. Thank you. And this is an application for a fence?
a fence for the rear yard at my property, yes.
All right. So we've got a photograph, the front of the house, a white picket.
Yes, there is a white picket fence in the front of the house. The lot is rectangular shape. It expands from Keller Street to Levinson. The house is rectangular shaped, and the area I want to fence is from the back of the house to the back of the property line.
And-
Okay.
And the back of the back property line, is there another house or a street or?
That's a studio. It used to be the Montessori school.
No, the back fence line is.
It's on Levinson,
So there is a street.
yes.
So the 6-foot fence would actually be on the street.
Would be on Levinson. That's my backyard.
It's that issue we tried to talk about.
Yeah.
Setbacks, but okay. I think that's fine. It meets the guidelines.
So the structure in the backyard is an accessory structure, so
Yeah, it used to be it's on now.
on.
It used to be a Montessori school. Healing Waters back in the 90s, early 2000s. That's my house.
Okay.
So main structure is under the oak trees. That's my primary residence. And in the back is a 500 square foot finished studio that has a door that goes onto Levinson as well as into my backyard.
All right. Okay, well, we're up.
And where the fence in the dark blue line is a 6-foot fence, and then where you tie into the house is a 4-foot fence, right?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
What we normally ask is that maybe 10, 15 feet back, you start sloping the 6-foot fence so that it gets down to 4 feet. Instead of 6 feet hitting 4 feet up in the air. Does that make sense?
So from the back, so at the back of my house, it would slant upwards and then going
No.
out to 6
If-
foot?
If you came off of that 4-foot fence and then intersected with the 6-foot fence, you drop the 6-foot fence down to 4 feet there and then angle it up. You'll see that around town where they intersect. So it's not just 6 feet and 4 feet, boom. You just sort of slope it up a little bit.
Okay, my thought process is on the front is the picket fence, and then you've got, I don't plan on replacing it. The previous owners had a chain link on one side, it's the 4 foot, and then on the north side is like a 3-foot garden fence, and then do a wooden fence that goes from the outside property lines towards the house.
Turn your mic off because we have so much feedback, we can't understand you. There, thank you.
The exterior property lines going towards the house with the fence, that would have a gate, and then the backyard would have the 6 foot. So you still want me to taper it down to that gate?
I'm trying to understand, so you can go up there. Where the teal blue line is, there's an existing fence there as well?
Here's the studio. Okay, so this is the house here. So I have a 4-foot fence here with the gate. And this is different. This is yeah.
It said that there was, I thought that was a new fence.
Yeah, no, I want to add a new one so it matches. So it's the same on both sides. It's like the gates to go up to both sides. But this one's always been there for years.
Why do you think that is? How far is it?
My picket fence is just across the front, and then it ditch you. So this is chain link, that chain link, you come out. This is chain link, that chain link, you come out. This is a 3-foot garden fence, and I'll take that and all that.
This is staying chain.
Yes.
All right, so you don't have what I was talking about, you don't have all fence dropping down to 4 fence, it's just a fence continuing. Okay, I understand. So, and this is gonna be bigger than match front or wood like this?
Wood like this, but I do plan on extending the wood.
Okay, and I saw
for
the drawing, it's a nice
aesthetic
fence,
purposes.
it's a good looking fence. Now I understand, thank you. I would make a motion that we approve the submission as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner assigned. Want me to take this one?
Sure.
Next item, community garden project, plant and seed box.
Hello, my name is Reagan DeRocher, and I'm with Troop 111 in Manville, but I live here in Abita Springs. My project is a kind of similar to the canned foods, goods, or libraries, but is a bigger community box for fresh foods, plants, vegetables from the community garden by the circle. So that's my drawing right there. I did as best I could. So as you can see, those aren't exact measurements at the moment, but I'm currently working on that. The box will have the 6 cubbies to hold the fruits and vegetables or seeds or whatever need be. The reason why it is not one big door, because if animals such as raccoons or any of the such try and get in, they would only get whatever's in that one instead of the entire bunch. It does not include any of the notes. I apologize for that, but on the back it would have a like a cork info board, so we can put anything to do with Keep It Beautiful or town flyers or whatever needs to go up there for the information. And any questions?
Yeah, it's very nice, great project. Congratulations. You did a great job. What would the material of what looks like screen be on the front of the doors?
Most likely chicken wire. That's what I'm thinking
Chicken
at the
wire,
moment.
okay.
Or yeah, chicken wire or hardware
Tighter than
cloth. Yes.
The only suggestion I would make is if you overhang your roof rafters a little bit and maybe get
Yeah.
like a 1-foot overhang, then whatever you put on the community board would not get drenched in the rain.
So I've been looking at weatherproof ones. Instead of just putting cork on, it'd be something with a case. So yeah, I am planning to do more of an overhang. This was kind of a last minute drawing, but I'm planning to have the weatherproof case so any sort of paper or something don't get ruined.
That was going to be my question.
Well, the cork wouldn't get ruined, but the cork's fine in the rain, but,
Yeah,
Okay.
any sort of paper or.
all right. Well, I think it's great, and maybe when you decide what you want to put on the back of the case, you could send a sketch of that or a manufacturer's thing to Chris, and she could send it, because that could be.
Yes.
That you need to be careful with that, because this is going to be great, and I love the
Yeah,
fact
and,
you tried it. What would the roofing material be?
Probably the metal. Any sort
Metal to match the sign, the town sign?
of.
something
Yeah,
like that?
probably. Yes.
Okay, great.
The only thing that we've been looking at is how to put it in the ground, because the owner of that property said no concrete. So what we were talking about was he said we could dig, just not put concrete for keeping the property not covered in concrete. Yeah.
Yeah, could you put the site plan up there? Because when I looked at it, it looked like the site plan looked like the snowball stand. Is it going to be right next to the snowball
The
stand?
community garden is right next to the snowball stand. Yes, it's across from the bank.
So the green box, that's on the Cary property? Isn't that the Cary property we rent?
That green box is that is the snowball stand.
Oh, so where would this
where's
sink?
So we haven't decided a exact location. Probably on this right side, closer to the road, kind of. No, that's the parking. The next square up. That. So about. Here, I'll walk over here. From when I went to the property, the best location I found was right here. It's not really under the tree, but it's more shaded, and so it'll keep vegetables and fruits not.
And which way would it be parallel with the
So it
street or
would- it would be,
perpendicular?
Straight up and down. So it comes this way, probably info point that
So
way.
it'd be parallel to the street, so you can see the openings from the street?
Yeah, so you can also see the info board from the sidewalk here.
Oh, then it would be perpendicular. It would go this way on that drawing, if you're going to see the
So it'd be
board.
parallel. So it's like if you're walking this way, you'd see the info board. You walk on this
So the
side.
vegetables will be on the back side and the info board will be by the
Yes, so
sidewalk?
the vegetables will be basically inside of the garden, and the infoboard will basically be up by the sidewalk.
If you did it perpendicular, you could see both sides from the street, and then people would see it. But I think that's fine.
The main reason I'm trying to decide on a place is there are also the electrical wires, anything,
Right.
because I don't have that layout of where they are.
Right.
And I-
If you, what are you using, 4x4s for the posts? If you dig a 12-inch or bigger hole with an auger and fill it with limestone gravel or something like that, that might hold the post up, and it's not gonna be considered concrete.
Around the bottom, I was going to put a 2x4 frame to kind of get more stability with the legs, and inside that frame have some sort of weighted, probably cinder blocks with frames to hold it down.
But you're still gonna go into the ground, right?
Yes.
You probably,
If those legs are set in there and you got a little stone in it, it's gonna be pretty sturdy by itself. You don't need to build a frame. I wouldn't
but
think.
with the wind loading on something like that, we get a 60, 70 mile an hour wind in one of our storms, you want to be in the ground about 3 feet, huh?
Couple
For
of
that
feet.
height. What's the height?
Go back to the. So that varied on how I was going to put it in the ground. But I'm looking at. I'm going off the cubbies here, about 1 foot cubbies to hold any sort of potted plant. So the legs could vary. It could be. I'm hoping this would be an overhang above people's heads, so they don't have to bend down or hit their head. So.
But if the eave you just pointed to at the base of the roof, if that's maybe 6.5 feet, you won't hit it.
Yeah.
But someone that's 6 feet tall could get into that top cubby easily, and then dogs and things wouldn't be jumping up because they smell something as much. So, but you're probably going to be, maybe that opening at the bottom might be like 3 feet, and then 18 inches, that's 6 feet, and then your cross reference. Yeah. What I would suggest is that we approve this, make a motion to approve this, and if you need any help with dimensions or how you get it in the ground, we'd be glad to volunteer to help you figure that out and
Or maybe
place
come
it.
back with a drawing. Come back with a drawing when you've got some of those materials figured out and,
Yes, I'll be getting all of the designs finalized before I go into any other paperwork that I have to do for my project, specifically for Scouts, because for approval through Troop, I need pricing, the exact dimensions, stuff like that.
mhm.
So I'll be having that as soon as I can. Everything going on.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a siting approval from the town or some instrument that gets executed? Or I'm not trying to make it complicated, I'm just curious.
For the site.
It's been verbally approved in the office. but
Okay.
I'll see if we need something more.
All right. Is this an Eagle project?
So I made the motion that we'll be glad to help with the final details, but run the final details through Kristen, and we'll work with you on that to help.
So motion to approve with the offer of assistance and a final drawing before.
That's the
before it
motion
goes.
I made. You just need to second it.
Look, you didn't say approve. You didn't say approve.
Okay.
You just said
I
to
thought
help.
I did. Play the tape back.
I was just.
All right,
for the minutes.
I'll second Andre's motion
Oh,
of
all
my
right,
motion.
great. Here we go. Here we go.
You have 2 motions and 2 seconds.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm guessing it's treated wood? Okay, great. Thank you.
The second, the second part of that is something that I emailed to you guys. It's a food pantry box that Sandra's putting up. I
Oh, okay.
didn't have a chance to scan it in.
Is that it? That's pretty small.
No, that part of it.
Is this part of the same item?
It's for blueberries.
It's next to the, I emailed y'all, it's an addition to this project, it's gonna be next to the.
Right,
for
that
the needing to get food supplies.
we had a local resident in Abita Springs who contracted out and made a pantry box, and then donated it to us.
I thought we had one already in town, didn't we?
That there's one on the trace that's small, and I will tell you that that the box that has been donated to us, we think it would be appropriate for library books, dry goods, toiletries. That the box that's on the trace is pretty small. A lot of times, what we'll see, since we're in the community garden a lot, is that people will try to donate things, but there's too much. So they leave boxes underneath the blessing box that's there on the trace all the time. So having a larger box in this area that, again, since we're there a lot, that things don't stay very long in the box, that, there's going to be a lot of turnover. So at any rate, this box was already made when it was given to us, and that we will be coordinating with Reagan, that the post is different on this box in that, and in your email
Did we get that?
that you have,
I didn't see it.
that,
Email.
that the, I do, yeah, I didn't bring extra ones,
We can share.
I'll tell you, I'll find it online. That, here, that, I don't, I mean, y'all can read the dimensions if y'all just want to pass this down. That, what I brought with me was that there's a single post with this design, and that it is a 4x4, 4-foot tall post, that this goes on the bottom of the box, and then there is the bolts, and that, again, since we are not going to be concreting it in, that our idea is that we will sink the 4x4 post into a 5-gallon bucket that will then go into a planter box. We will add, if there's, decorative trim or anything like that that is on Reagan's box, we will, add it to the planter box so that it does look as if, that we do have that, that coordinated, we'll coordinate the stain, color, so that the boxes look like.
With the other one?
Yeah, and again, since this was given to us, it was already built when it was given to us, but we feel like it definitely has a purpose, in terms of being a companion box to the fresh produce, plant seeds. That box would not be appropriate for the, for people's fresh, that gardeners have a bumper crop of zucchini or tomatoes or whatever it is, that,
This is
that
hardware
it wouldn't be
cloth.
appropriate in this
What's
box.
on the face of the, what's the door made of? Is that
It's
hardware
glass.
cloth? Well, that's glass. Okay, keep it dry. Is there any signage involved?
We'll put a sign on it that basically, that, the whole purpose of this is, give what you can, take what you need, and, that, there will be something, we obviously want to acknowledge Reagan's contribution, in terms of him doing the other box. So we're similar to those, if you've been in the community garden and looked at the benches, you see the little plaques that we've added to the benches. We're going to do something similar to that, that we'll get them from Gallardo Signs that, they look good, they're easy to install. But yes, we'll definitely acknowledge what they are.
So, all I would suggest is that we coordinate the location of both of these so everybody kind of knows where they are. But I think it's fine.
Do we need another motion procedurally? Two motions, same item?
Kristen, do we need a second motion?
I don't think we've ever gotten where I don't think we need a motion. If you'd like to make a motion, it's fine.
Well, we.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, this one's fine. If someone else does something differently, well, you don't have to get them approved. I make a motion, we approve this submitted, and then that the final location of both of these projects be coordinated with the town.
All right. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
All right. I'll take this one. It's a fun one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 22464 Highway 35, new sign. Is the applicant here?
He's not. Do you want to save it for last?
Yeah, we'll skip that one. We'll skip that one. 22106 7th Street, screen porch. You can introduce yourself, sir, and describe the project, please.
My name is Ryan Battaglia. I'm presenting this from my parents, live on a corner of St. Joseph and 7th Street. It was originally submitted in November last year as a screened-in porch. It was presented as a monoslope. The commission had some concerns about the pitch and the height of it compared to some of our neighbors' monoslope designs. So we resubmitted based on the meeting minute. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, the last submittal. So we resubmitted with a pitched roof. But after going through some of the detailing and engineering based on the lateral loads and there being no shear walls and it not being connected to the actual existing roof, some other hurdles have come up, and we'd like to try to pursue the monoslope again. They'll show the house interface on the next sheet, on the next drawing. There you go. So it doesn't tie in to the existing house because it was cost prohibitive.
Is that a section of screen right next, go back up, right there, right next to the house?
Correct. Below, there's a...
So it does tie, it looks like it does tie into the house.
It does. I was gonna modify that on my next submittal and just match the existing lap siding, the existing white lap siding for that small section, mainly to hide that knee brace with the top beam.
And then is there, we'll see the high roof and the rafters. What keeps the rainwater from going right into it?
It's not completely accurate. The roof would extend so you wouldn't see the exposed rafter tails, and it would be
No, I
boxed
mean,
with.
the supposed rafters are fine. I mean, they look more historic, actually, but if the rain is coming down the existing roof.
Oh, I gotcha. And that's one of the concerns. We resubmitted this based on, I believe it was Mr. Dinklacker's sketch in the meeting minutes, but we realized that there would be a drip line when you leave the house to be able to get to the covered portion. There's a flat section on the backside of the gable between the house and the proposed roof, and you would have just a constant drip curtain. So again, we want to resubmit.
I think his idea was basically what you've got, but in that little connecting section, it looks like it's maybe 18 inches, 2 feet wide.
Right.
You could have a very low slope piece of metal that would take the water off without going into it. And the more separation you had between that roof and the house would make that little connection easier to build and easier to keep dry, I think. Does that make sense?
No, I'm not following exactly what you're saying.
We need a whiteboard in this place.
What was the November commission action? Maybe I missed the meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If we could figure out a way to work with the commission, and we've seen other monoslopes approved in the district, and if we could
Seen
find
them in
out
the district, or you've seen them approved?
approved, believe approved, it was 100.
201 Level Street, improved where it connects to the station.
Right, but it,
And 100 Abita, 100 Abita Oaks.
yeah, that was, the concern there was that it was not going into attaching into the roof. It was going into the roof completely and just the same roof continued out or similar roof. That would look, more like some of the ones you see in the district. There was that concern, I think, that Otto had, that little intersection between if you could zoom in on that.
Yeah, if we were able to build flashing on that beam going into the gutter, I mean, is there a specific guideline or that this is violating or something we could do?
Well, that's why there's a commission, so we can discuss these things. We don't have every possible alternative in the guidelines. I mean, the concern is, and you can't see this from the road anyway, right?
So you can see it from the side. You can,
from St. Joseph.
I just, as a caution, I just don't understand where all the rain coming on that roof is gonna go except to hit that little intersection right there.
The gutter would remain, existing gutter would remain.
is this accessible through the back door to the house? Does it walk onto a deck?
Do you have street views of, so we can see what this would look like?
Here, Ron, you can see it. This is from the street. This is what it looks like from the street. From
This is the
from
street
St.
here.
Joseph, yeah, you're on
So
St.
that's the
Joseph.
front, so you'll
looking-
be seeing it right from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Some of the other issues we came up with during the engineering of the lateral load with no shear walls anywhere, it all being screened in. Is the lateral resistance of the new profile of the pitched roof. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, you guys were talking about it on the fruit stand, but it'll be a larger profile than just a mono slope.
the community garden box.
Yeah.
So what was the disposition in November, or what was the recommendation?
Y'all had a copy of his application and y'all drew all over it, and then he accidentally took it. So I can pull up the minutes, but I think the biggest issue was the connection between the roof and the main house. But I can pull
Okay.
up.
I
So
mean, we do have precedence for exactly what you had on the original application, if it tied into the roof.
Yeah.
Is there no way you can just go back to your single slope but make it look like it's part of the original roof? Instead of having the separation?
Well, if we go below the existing overhang, then we lose.
No, you lose.
It'll be less than a sub 8 foot. We lose the headroom with the slope.
No, I understand, but
That's
if
why
you
it's
just carried that angled line and just tied it in to the roof, you'd have a piece of flashing there under the shingles, and then, what is your roof made out of? Is it metal?
The existing roof shingles and proposed roof would be standing seam,
Or galvanized?
galvalume standing seam. Yeah.
I think our neighbor has, across the street, has, that you're talking about, where it ties into the roof, and they use flashing to go from the shingles to the metal roof.
That's what we're talking about. I think that's the conversation we had in November, but you all didn't want to go into the roof. I think it'd be simpler and,
It didn't go into the roof, just the flashing went into
yeah.
the metal roof. That's across the street.
Well,
I think you gotta tie into the roof. I think you gotta tie into the roof. So you're talking about lateral loads. How does that resist lateral loads?
That is going to have knee braces just on the knee braces. If you go down to the next, keep going. One more. Is that the end?
Yes.
All right, so maybe it's it's on the back.
Because if you tie into the roof and you deck it, then you got a diaphragm, it's braced off of the house, then you got it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna brace it off the house.
Okay.
The existing framing, we could send y'all pictures of it. We got some storm damage. Existing rafters tie into the cantilever of the ceiling joist. The ceiling joists extend past the wall, and the existing rafters rest on a 2x flat on the end of the ceiling joist. You wouldn't believe it unless you saw a picture of it, and even if you saw a picture of it, you'd wonder why they built it like that. But to rely on that existing roof to put any diaphragm loads on it,
Okay, so maybe not.
Kristen,
but
go back to there.
I think what we have a hard time with is the discontinuity.
I mean, what is that note?
So if you make it
right there
continuous, I
on
think
the-
you'd be approved.
It looks like a piece of
That's
flashing
my
right above the
sense.
door.
just with
Even as a monoslope.
could I do it with just flashing?
Looks like you're cutting into the roof anyway.
I mean,
I'm not
could
sure
I-
what that looks like. We need to see what that looks like.
Oh, that's a door.
Yeah, I really don't want
So it
to,
could be structurally independent. Yeah, it could be structurally independent, but it would need to look as one.
to be full disclosure, the other thing I was concerned about is any kind of settlement, differential settlement, with it being new, with the soils around here being, I guess, highly organic, then it could settle in just have cracking in the plaster or sheetrock inside.
You've had cracking plaster?
No, we have had some, but it's just, I think it's from the damage, a tree fell on it during Ida.
It looks like a historic house. How old is the house?
I think they said I just watched the meeting since we submitted this. I didn't know you could watch them on YouTube. I think they said it was 100 years old in the last meeting.
Well, I agree with Andre, I think, and I know that's where Otto was heading, that exactly what, if you want to do the mono slope, if that just continued and was flashed into the roof, it looks like it'd be a very clean job for a roofer. Have you talked to a roofer about the galvalume that you want to put on this?
No, but I have seen transitions between the shingles and I know it can be done.
I'm not worried about that, but if you talk to a roofer, if you have a roofer that's going to do that galvalume, they can say, oh yeah, if you extend the joist and rest the joist on the existing shingles, we can just flash right into it, and then you get your lateral support as well. I think it'd be easier, actually. That's going to be very hard to build that close.
So you're saying extend the top edge? Is there a way you could zoom into that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just continue this right into there, curve it into the roof. You have a piece of lashing that sits under this and then goes up under the shingles, whatever it needs to. They may have to replace a couple of rows of shingles. And then it's completely waterproof. And at that point, you could actually cut your gutter when it gets to the side here as well. Yeah, because you wouldn't have the gutter wouldn't have to. Then you'd be completely tied in between the house and that. And where Otto, I remember the meeting where Otto was talking about was trying to pull this back away from the house, have a small little transition here. Because what is this height? Do you know?
That's 9 feet.
Yeah, so you could have a little transition at 8 feet where all this could stay like it is, and then have a small little connecting roof, maybe as wide as a door or something, and then this could be whatever needs to be out in the yard. Maybe we just defer this to Otto.
So that's either or, all right? So that's bring the roof pitch into the existing roof, bring the monoslope into the existing roof, or have the little subroof passageway into a totally freestanding. Is that?
Yeah,
did I
and
understand it right?
maybe the solution is to talk to a roofer that's going to do your roof and see how they would handle an intersection, and if they can satisfy you that they can do it and it's not going to be ridiculously crazy in terms of money, then that might be the solution, and then we could just approve it.
Are you talking about tying into it structurally?
No, just waterproofing.
Just
Just
waterproofing.
the waterproofing. So we're not going to mandate anything you do structurally. But it does need to shed water over the top and not into the gutter underneath the existing roof.
10-4.
To me, that's approvable.
So are we talking about like an approval based on drawings or a new meeting?
It'd be something like this, where you extend that joist into it could just lean on the roof. You could even put some sleepers there, whatever you did to tie it in. Here's your existing roof, your existing gutter. And then you'd need a good, decent piece of flashing to get under the shingles here that comes out over it. And then it looks like it's part of the house.
What part don't you like?
I'm concerned about the settlement. Just any settlement would result in.
I think if you tied into it and there was any settlement at all, it's going to hinge. It's not going to differentially sell. And Beta's on a sand strata. There's not a lot of settlement here and you're building it on concrete piers, right? So you're going to have a decent footing. I mean, adding anything like this that house is not moved. That house is 100 years old, right? And that's probably sitting on little, small footings. You ought to have an engineer look at it anyway, just if you're concerned. You probably, I don't want to get into structural engineering, you probably have more piers than you need anyway. You don't need that many piers, 3 feet on center, for that distance. If you look at new houses in Abita, the concrete piers are maybe 8 feet apart, you know? I don't know.
Ron used the word, it'll hinge. So you're not gonna rigidly attach those rafters to the roof. They can just lay. And it'll hinge. You can even leave a little daylight on the underside if you wanted to give it some space.
I got you. Appreciate it. So we just resubmit, including that detail.
I'd make a motion that we approve the November submission, subject to a revised detail of the connection to the existing roof and the flashing between the new Galvalume single slope roof and the existing shingle roof. And you don't have to come back to a meeting for that. We could do that outside of the meeting.
Just submit it to Kristen and she'll
Yes.
circulate it.
Yes.
All right. Appreciate it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Want to sign this to Otto? Right there.
Absolutely. Otto.
Otto.
Absolutely. Without hesitation. He was here for
But he's-
this.
Yeah, he's
He was here for
familiar.
that one.
He knows it better than anybody.
Was he assigned to that originally? Or wasn't approved?
And what,
It's on YouTube.
there we go. He's already seen it now. Oh, goodness. Where's his name? It says Otto. I should be ashamed of myself.
The next sign, did everybody see the dentist sign online?
No.
It's just fine. It's exactly the same as the one that's there. There you go.
This is a replacement in kind?
Right. That's the one that's there. It's actually nicer than the one that's there. That's the one that says Stanley Dentistry right across from the post office, and the proposed one is there. Meets the height, right? It's less than 10 feet. Square footage is fine. Only caution I would give is that is it lighted? Is it lighted now? What is that yellow thing in front? Okay. I just put a caution about because a lot of these signs that we're approving, and when they get light, the lighting is not shielded lighting for the sign, and it's blaring in the cars as they're passing. So just approval of lighting if they're going to provide it. I make a motion, we approve it, submit it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, any comments from the audience or from the commission? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and we're adjourned. Thank you.